Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is part 14 of our cooking mechanics series. Today we're going to be adding a new appliance, and as always any messes I've used here will be supplied in the asset pack that I will link below. So at the moment we have it so that we have our chef's comments, but what we want to do now is be able to populate our list. Let me just show you here. So if I go to play here, he tells us to press tab to select a recipe. We select a recipe, we have our list here, and at the moment we just got it set to down. We have everything, and then it goes straight on to telling us to spread butter. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this around a little bit so that you actually have to select ingredients. So later on we will be setting up a storage area and then ordering and that sort of thing. So you would take them from the storage area and put them onto a preparation area. So we're going to make an asset called a prep table. This could be quite a long video. I don't really want to split this one in two if I can help it, but let's see how it goes. Without further ado, let's get going. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is go to our blueprints folder, our interfaces folder, and we need to make a new interface. So we're going to go blueprint interface. I'm going to call this BPI underscore appliance. And first thing we're going to do before we forget is we're going to open up our parent blueprints, our appliances one. Open in full blueprint editor, we get this one here. Go to our class settings and we're going to add the BPI underscore appliance to that. Compile and save that. Let's go ahead now and open up our newly created interface, BPI appliance. We're going to add two functions in here called set ingredients list, and I'm going to put that in a category of ingredients. And then we're going to add another function, and this one's going to be called refresh UI, and that's going to be put in a UI category, not UO, UI. Okay. Sorry, set ingredients. Didn't. Okay, let's try it again. Put it in the ingredients category. I probably didn't press enter. There you go. So let's compile that. So let's start with set ingredients first. It has an input, and it's called recipe. And if you've been following along the series, you probably already guessed this is going to be DA underscore recipe. Make sure you compile and save. And the next one is refresh UI, and that has no inputs, no outputs, just like this. Okay, so we can go ahead and close that now. We don't need that anymore. Let me just check in our BPI appliances. We don't actually do anything there, so we can close that. Okay. So first we are going to make a new game blueprint. So we're going to go to our game items, our appliances. At the moment we have toaster. We're going to create a new blueprint class, and it's of type BPI underscore appliances. Select that. I'm going to call it BP underscore prep table. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to open that. Okay, we've got our prep table open. So first we're going to need some messages for it. We don't have any messages for it at the moment. So we're going to go back to our message folder. Appliances, we're going to make a new folder. We can call it prep table. We're going to open up that folder and we're going to import our message. And for me, it's somewhere. Oh, in my desktop. YouTube assets, message, prep table. At the moment, I think it's probably best that we actually we will make up some materials shortly. So we select those two, we open them, and just make sure your scale is 1, and just import. Now this prep table is nothing special. It's something I made in modeling, and as I've mentioned before, I'm not a modeler, but it does the job for what we want. So we can save this, and I believe we have a folder for materials. Yes, we do, and textures. So we open up our textures. We're going to import a texture on here, which are these three here, the wood ones. So open that. Okay. And we are going to go to our materials. We're going to make a new material. We're going to call this M underscore chopping board. Okay, we're basically putting the chopping board here. We're only going to use it for dropping things onto prepare, but later on we will be using it more as an actor, so we're making it as we go along as part of the prep table, because that's where it will be. So let's go ahead and open that up, and you can open up your browser, select all three of these textures and drag them in. Very simple, color to color. This one's roughness, and this one is normal. Okay, just like that, nice and simple materials. Not going to do anything fancy today. So apply and save that, and we can go ahead and close that. Go back to our message drawer, folder on, I should say. Our appliances, our prep table. We'll open up our chopping board, and we'll apply that material, and we call it chopping board. Goes, and you zoom in, there it goes. Okay, so nice. Okay, let's just make sure we have check that we have collision. We do. Carry forward, that's fine. Good. Now let's go ahead and open up our prep table. Now I believe I used metal. I don't think that was one I used in my folder, but that'll do. That'll do. Make a shiny metal table. That'll work for now. So whatever color you want it, up to you. But yeah, that will do for me for now. Again, let's just double check that it's carried its collision over. It has. That's fine. Okay. So save that. Close that. So now we have that. So in our BP prep table, we're also going to need to make, as always with every item in this method I've done this, I'm going to make a data asset, appliances, we can create from miscellaneous. It's here somewhere. Yep, miscellaneous, a data asset, and we're going to call it from our DA appliances here. Select that, and we're going to call it DA underscore prep table. Why do I keep capitalizing A? Okay, I'm just going to quickly open up that to make sure what I've got in my test project. Okay, so we're going to open up our DA prep table. Make sure this is set to appliance. Our static mesh is our prep table. Okay. Item name is prep table. I'm just going to copy and paste this to speed things up a bit. And the description here. Okay. And everything else we can leave as is. So save that. Okay, you can put whatever description you like. I've just put this is where you prepare food. Nice and straightforward and simple. We can go ahead and close that. Now I do believe I made a change in, yes I did. I made a change in here, but let's just see whether we did it or not last time. So we're going to go ahead to our data asset here inside our PEP table, and we're going to select the PEP table. If it's working right and you've got it popping in as a table, then we know everything's fine. The grab point we don't care about, the pivot we don't also care about today. What I do want you to do, and I put this on top perspective because it just helps me a little bit, is I want to add a new mesh. So we're going to add a static mesh. Okay. And I'm just going to get all my measurements for that from my existing one. Okay, so the static mesh we're going to add is, so make sure you highlight the new mesh. We're going to call that add chopping board. SM chopping board. Okay. And I did these as -10 and 70 and 80. So it sort of goes top left cornerish because you want it close enough to the edge here. If it's too far, you won't be able to reach it with your player for working on. So compile and save that. Next thing we want to add is a box collision. We're going to add a box collision, and we want to add that to the base mesh, not to the second static mesh. And this box collision, I have set the Y to -45 and the Z to 85. You see it's there. Dimensions are 47.5 and 62.5 and 5. Okay. I did go ahead into our collision because I don't want this showing up every time you're anywhere near it. It's set it over lap all dynamic at the moment. And if we go to presets, go custom. Let's open this up so we can see. At the moment, it's blocking the tracer. We want to ignore the tracer. Everything else can remain the same. And there is our prep table. Okay. Where the line of that box is so big, maybe I accidentally put the line on the minus 3. I probably tabbed it, so put line 0. Line thickness. Okay, that doesn't really matter. It's only a visual thing for us to look at when we're in the world. So before we forget, and before we write any more code, let's go ahead and add this to our world. So we go to our blueprints, game items, appliances, our prep table, and we add it to the world. I want to rotate this a little bit. And that'll do fine for me. Okay. So we now have our table in the world with a chopping board and a collision box, like so. I'm just going to double check what I used for the material facts. I don't like that shiny mess. You could bear with me 1 second. Okay, I used something called, I just wanted a grey, not material, metal. So I need to open it up. Up to you, but I'm not happy with that. It's just affects my OCD a little bit. Okay. I think that's just, it's called basic. Asset. Yeah, basic asset 02 is like a grey metallic colour. It like, comes with the engine. If you don't have it, put whatever colour suits you. That's a little bit nicer for my eyes to me. Okay, so we have our prep table. Now, inside our prep table, we have a little bit of work to do. But before we do that, we do need to add a new function to our kitchen manager interface. Find it. Okay, so we've got to open up our kitchen manager interface. So we've got to our blueprints folder, interfaces, kitchen manager. And we're going to add 2 new functions. We're going to have one called set prep table and another one called give prep table. Give prep table. Oops. P3 yet table. Okay. So set prep table has an input. Now we don't want to do a hard reference to the exact prep table we got there because we don't need to drag all of the mesh and other details with it. We just need a reference to know that it's there so we can run an interface from it. So we're just going to call this prep table. And it's of type BPP appliance. You could go further back and go to of type base if you like. It should be fine, but BPP appliances, there's not much in it. So type that. Give prep has no input, but it has an output, and that's of the same type. Prep table. Okay. Compile. And we're going to put these in the utils section. Keep things neat. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to open up our kitchen manager. So let's do that first. Back to our blueprint. for blueprints, BPP Kitchen Manager. And we're going to sort these two out first. Oh, UI is not UI. So let's do set prep table first. We're going to drag off here, promote this to a variable. It should be of type BPP appliances, and it should be called prep table. It can do it all for you. And then we must remember to do the give prep table, otherwise nothing will work later. So we find that variable we just made, and we add it to it. We've done that. That should be fine for now. We're going to leave our Kitchen Manager open. We can close the BPI Kitchen Manager for now. But we can leave Kitchen Manager open. We will be needing that later. So back to our prep table. We're going to go into our graph. But what we want to do is get our box, right click on it, add event. We want to add on component begin overlap. And we also want to add on component end overlap. Okay, we're going to be using the overlap of that box. Okay, so let's have a look at what we've got in the event graph. There are a few variables we want to make. So let's make those first. And I just want to make sure which ones are not being inherited. Yeah, so these ones are inherited. You've already got those, so that's fine. So the new ones we're going to make are, so we're going to add a variable, and it's just called overlapping actors. And this is of type actor, just the base form of actor. And if we right click on here, we can turn this into an array. We're going to add another one, and this is recipe. And it's a single, so right click again to turn this to single, and it's DA underscore recipe. As we're following along, if you've been following along, you will have that in your available list. We're going to add another variable, and we're going to call this ingredient list. And this is of type, let me double check this, make sure I get it right for you. This is of type DA underscore ingredient. Object reference. We're going to make it as a map, and it's going to be an integer, so the default is fine. And basically we're going to duplicate that because we need another one exactly the same, but we're going to call it ingredient on table. And we are going to get the overlapping actors on. We're going to duplicate that. I'm just going to call it overlapping actor, singular. And we're going to make sure this is single, not an array. And I believe that's all that we need in variables. So let's compile and save our game so far. We do have a few functions. The first thing I want to do, so that we don't forget, let's go to our begin play. We need to add a little bit of code here. So we are going to get our kitchen manager, and then we're going to set prep table message. Okay. and the PEP table is self. Now, this actually, at the moment, this only works while we have one PEP table in our kitchen. Later on, or if people want, we can work it so that we can have an array of them, so we can add it to an array instead of singular, and we can just change things a little bit like that so that it knows which one is which. But at the moment, that's good enough. Okay, the first one I want to do, let me just make sure, is a new function. Go ahead and make a new function, and it's called add items to table list. Okay, and that does exactly what it says on the tin. If it hadn't done a add items to table list. Now I'm only doing this on the PEP table for ingredients, not doing it for utensils. Again, that may come out later on. So this has an input. I don't know why I'm using object, but it works. So it has an input of actor, and it's of type object. So which means it could be anything in the game. Okay. And we're going to drag off of here. We're going to say give ingredients data asset, this one here. Okay. We're going to get our ingredients on table, and we're going to drag off there and find. We're going to see whether we already have this ingredient first, because if so, we just want to change the quantity. If we don't have it on the table, then we want to add it. So from the found, we're doing a branch. And let's do the false first because it's more straightforward. So on false, we are simply going to get some reroute nodes from here. Like so for now. Drag in our ingredients on table and add. What we're going to add is this. The quantity is going to be 1. So we're dropping one item at a time. We're going to copy and paste these two. Put them up here because we are going to need them. If we already found it, we want to drag off of the quantity here. We can do some reroute nodes. In fact, we don't need that last one. We can do one, we can say plus 1. We're adding 1 to it. And we're going to put that into the quantity and a true onto there. Now we're not quite done with this yet. We need to make a new, and we must remember also to set the data asset. We don't know what to add, and we'll get an error. So just a recap, for those who don't know about maps, if you add something to a map, can only have one instance of a type in it. So it can only have one, for example, bread, one, in our case, jam or butter or whatever. So if you just add to it, it will, and there's nothing, it's not there, it will just add that and the quantity or whatever you put in. If it's there and you add to it, it will find it and it will just change whatever data you put in for the second part of the map. That's simply termed. Okay, so now we are going to need to add another small function. So in our functions, we're going to add one, and we're going to call it update pinned list. So remember our pinned recipe list that we have there. We're going to get our ingredients list, which we haven't yet used, which we will do shortly. We are going to, for each loop through the map, like I say, if you're using earlier earlier versions of Unreal and it doesn't have that, let me know and I can show you a different way of doing it. We're going to promote this to a local variable. Let's call it L ingredient. Just save strings. We're going to get our ingredients on table. We're going to do a find again. Drag it out, and we're going to find this. We're going to get the value from this one, the reroute node. Put that there. We're going to say, is this, so on the table, we're looking at the table now, not the other ingredient. Is this greater than or equal to what we need in our ingredients list? Then we're going to do a branch. So in other words, if we drop 4 on it and we only need 1, it doesn't matter. We have enough ingredients in our list. We don't really worry about it. And we're going to make another ingredient. Sorry, another local variable. We're going to call this L text state. And this one is anyone to find. It's E check box state. Drag it in here 2 times, or copy and paste it like so. If it's false, leave it unchecked. If it's true, we check it. Okay. Get our kitchen manager again. So right click, get our kitchen manager. And we're going to say get pinned what do we call it? Let me just check that we do have that in our functions. Maybe we didn't use it last time. Big like kitchen manager. Not going to equal. Set pinned lines array. Okay, we didn't have that. So let's go ahead and open up our BPI Kitchen Manager. We're going to add another function. And we're going to call this get pinned recipe lines array, and that's going to have an output of pinned lines array, and it's going to be of type WDT pinned recipe line, and an array. Make sure it's an array. I'll save that. Let's go into our Kitchen Manager and set that. Double click that. We don't have that. Okay, we don't have that already. So we're going to, so basically if you don't have it, look for your, in your, excuse me, in your interfaces, in the UI, set pinned array, double click that, promote that to a variable. I'm just going to call it pinned lines array. Okay. And then the new one we just made, get pinned lines array, we can simply add that to that. And I'm going to be right back because I'm not sure why we don't have that already. And I just want to maybe check where we have to change something when we do the recipe book. So bear with me one moment. I'll be right back. Okay, I just double checked. I opened up our WDT pinned widget. We are actually implementing it here already. We just haven't, we are actually calling it here, calling the message. We just hadn't implemented the step one. Pinned array. It's going to go back to that BPI Kitchen Manager because it's driving me crazy. So I'm going to put that into UI. Okay, and I'll make sure we compile that. So now we can go back to our prep table and we should be able to say get pinned recipe lines array, which is what we're looking for. And I'm just going to go back and do the reference project. We're going to join both of those into here. We have an array, so we need to do a for each loop in this case. I want to go through every element in that array. And we're going to say update pinned. No, it's not that one. Maybe I haven't done that. Let's have a quick look. Okay, no, we haven't done that. So we need to go to our WDT pinned, sorry, not that one. WDT pinned recipe line. And it makes a WDT, no, not recipe line. I've got it wrong again. Pinned recipe line, this one. Sorry for the confusion. Okay, so in here at the moment, we've simply got this. And we've got a function called set checkbox, which we made here. We just need to make one more function in here. So we're going to add a new function. We're just going to call it update line. Okay. And that will have two inputs. So highlight your purple, go down, and we're going to add two inputs. So the first one is going to be ingredient, which we're going to use for checking, and that's going to be DA underscore ingredient. And the next line is going to be in check state, and that's going to be of E checkbox state, E checkbox state. Okay, so we have those. We should have our ingredient DA here. Drag that one in. We're going to simply see, are these equal? Okay. We only really care about if this is the one that we're looking for. So we're not going to do anything on the false. If it is equal, we're going to drag in our set checkbox that we have, and we can just drag off of here and say in text state, which will get the variable from here. And that's simply we need to do with compile and save that. I don't know why I had to double compile, but there you go. So now we can go back to our perp table, and we can call from our for each loop update line. Okay. The ingredient is our local ingredient, which we have set here. Check state is going to be our local check state, which we have set here. That simply does that. Okay, that's all we need to do on that one. And we can go yes, we can go back to our add items on table here. We can now drag in the update list to both of these. We're going to make now a small function. I'm going to say are all ingredients on the table. First thing we're going to do is make sure this is a pure function. Okay. And it's quite a relatively simple function. So we're going to get our ingredients list. We're going to for each through the map. We're going to get our ingredients on table. Make sure you get these the right way around. So we're for each looping through the ingredients list, and we're getting our ingredients on table. Fine, so we're going to look for the ingredient that's been found in the loop here. We're going to do a branch off of the is found here. And we are going to add a new variable. So I'm not sure we can do this in a quick way. So class, okay, increment int. We drag off of here, promote this to a local variable, and we're just going to call it L items found. So basically we're saying, you know, these are the same, it means we have this item. We're going to add it at, yes, we have found the amount. We have found some that is there. Okay. Then we are going to add a return node. Just right click and add return. And the return node has an output. No input, has an output of, say, has all items. And this is of type Boolean. Okay. From the completed, we go to here. So now we need to populate this. So we get our ingredients list. We get its length. We get our items found. And we see if these are equal. And we simply put that into there. Okay. That basically says, yes, we have, yes, we have, yes, we have, and adds to this, to this. And then we're just checking, okay, we have 3 types of ingredients, and we have 2 on the table, so this would say false. But if this come up with 3, and we have 3, this would become true. So, go back to our add items to table here. We've updated our list. Going to get our newly made function, run a branch off of it. We're going to get our kitchen manager. And we're going to say set stage complete message. Okay, because we have done that stage, which we're going to be changing shortly in our recipes in a moment. Okay, so we've done that one. What other functions should I do next? Okay, we're going to do another one. So we've got add items to list. We're going to add another one to remove items from table list. Okay. We can have an input on this. We can call this item to remove, and that is of type object. And again, we're going to say give ingredient data asset message like we've done for the ad. We're going to promote this to a local variable and just call it L ingredient. So it's fairly similar to what we've done in the ad. We just need to find it. Grab our ingredients on table. Oh, not set it, get it. We're going to find, and we're going to find this, just like we did before in the ad. If it's found, the branch, we're going to say we're going to subtract 1, because we're taking 1 off the table. Then we're going to say, is this less than, is this less than or equal to 0? In other words, if we have one item and it brings it down to 0, we want to do something different. Off the false here, we're not doing anything. Off the true, we're adding this, check. So let's do the true first. So we get our ingredients on table. We remove Now, remember, as I said to you before, with a map, it can only have one item. So if that item is no longer on the table because it's 0 or below, we can remove it so that no longer exists. And the item is going to be the local ingredient. If, say, we had 2 on the table and we've removed 1, obviously we don't want to remove the item totally like here. We just want to change it. And remember, as I said earlier, by using the add, in this case, because we already have it, it will just change the quantity we put in here. So we're going to add the local ingredient, and the quantity comes from the -1 here. We'll do reroute and pops it into there. Okay, so that does that one. We'll use that again in a minute. Have we done update pinned list? Yes, we've done update pinned list. Done all ingredients. Okay, and we've got one more. Should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have, including construction 5. Yep. So we have one more. We're going to say add a new function, and we're going to say set ingredients on table at startup. So basically, what this one will do is, again, more or less what it says. But if you have ingredients on the table from startup, i.e. from a save game before, or you just want to put them there to test or to, that's how you want your game to be, it will check and see what's on there and populate the list accordingly. Okay, so this one's relatively simple. We drag in our box here. We get overlapping actors. The class is going to be our BPP underscore ingredient. That's what we're looking for. We're going to drag in this. We're not going to do it yet. But first of all, we want to check, are there any there? We don't want to waste computing power. So we say is not empty. So if it's not empty, we're going to do something. If it's empty, we're going to ignore it. It sounds a little confusing, but so if it's not empty, which means this will be true, we are going to now set our overlapping actors like this off of the true. Okay, we're going to for each through these. And we're going to bring in our add items to table list. And we're simply going to add that item. Okay. When we start, this will be empty. Maybe later on if we start introducing a save game, we may change it so that we just save that and then we won't have to do this on startup. But at the moment for testing, this works quite nicely. Sometimes when you're developing a game, you will write functions that later on you may not use, so you get rid of them, or you change them for something else. It's just part of developing, and sometimes we need something there to test with to make sure everything's working as we intended. Okay, so we've got these. We can go ahead and close everything from the event graph, apart from the event graph itself. And right at the beginning, we're going to set this. Okay. Now let's look where we can go from here. Okay, so we're going to start with event begin overlap. from our other actor here, okay, we're going to say does implement interface. And the interface we're looking for is the BPI ingredient, because we're only caring about ingredients. Okay. A little bit. The branch, if it does, we do something. If it doesn't, we don't care. So if it does, we get our overlapping actor, and we can set that to do some reroute nodes like that. Okay. We get our recipe here, which we haven't set yet, but we will do later. And we make that into a validated get. Because if it's not valid, we want to notify the player of something. Okay, if it is valid, then we want to find out add items to table list. The actor is the overlapping actor. If it doesn't, we're going to add chef comment maybe I put it under a different name in this project. Let me very quickly check. It will be in here. Add chef's comment. Yes. CHEF. What have I done there? I spelled it wrong. I probably. So it should just be right click, add chef, add chef's comment. Why it didn't come up last time, I don't know. So on the not valid, we do this. I'm just going to copy and paste. So if you're looking at my painful typing, you put whatever message you want, and the message I'm going to put in here, you need to select the recipe first. So in other words, if there's no recipe selected and you drop something on there, this chef will say, hey, you know, you're dropping stuff on the table, but you haven't selected a recipe from your recipe book. So it can't really do anything. Okay, so that's that one. And we're going to go to the on component end overlap. And basically we can copy and paste this and this. Do the same check. Zoom in. Remember, this goes to other actor. Okay. And we then use our remove item from table list. The item is going to be our other actor. Okay. And then we're going to use our update pinned list. Okay. You could, if you want to put the update pinned list in here, it would work the same way, but it's just another way of doing it. Just shows you the flow a little bit more. Okay, so we've done that. I believe that's everything. I've got some stuff on ticker for checks. Okay. Okay, so we've got a couple more to do. So in our interface, our UI, we've got refresh UI, so we'll get that. And where did I put the other one? Set ingredients list, we've got that. Let's do the fresh UI first because that's easy. We just say update pinned list. And in this one, we get our recipe. This is where we set the recipe. We, from here, get out the ingredients list. And here. And we make sure you get the right one, the ingredients list. We want to set that, not the ingredients on table. Make sure it's the ingredients list. This is our reference list. Okay, we don't change this in any way, shape or form in this one. It's just purely our reference list. Okay. This is what we have been referring to and comparing to in our other functions. And I believe that's all we do in the prep table for now. So let me just see, first of all, what we need to change. Let's look in our kitchen manager. We've made these two. That's fine. Event begin play. That's fine. That hasn't changed. The other one we need to, I think, change is new recipe. So start new order. I believe was one that I changed. Yes, I did. Okay, so here at the moment we've got it like that. That's fine. We're going to get our current recipe. We're going to convert it to validated get just in case this gets called before anything is chosen. We don't want any errors. We get our prep table reference. Then we say set ingredients list. Set ingredients list message. Make sure you get the message. The recipe goes to recipe. And also from here, we can say refresh UI. And again, make sure you get the message. Okay. Compile and save that. I believe I did something in the player HUD. One moment. Yep, I did change something in the HUD. So we go to our HC Creative Cooking. We find our event pin recipe. Go scroll to the end of that. And we will just be adding a couple of functions. First function is get kitchen manager. And from there, we're going to say give prep table message. Remember that's one we did earlier. So now we have a reference to the prep table. And we're going to just say refresh UI message. Make sure you choose the message. I believe that is all there is to do. So let's go ahead and check it. So if, just a heads up, if for some reason it fails, I won't make you painfully look through why it's failed or what I've missed. I'll find out what it is and then I'll get back to you in a few moments. So let's go to our world. We have our table here. Let's play the game. Okay, so it says press tab. I know there's something we do need to do, but press tab to open the recipe. We're going to choose bread and jam, and we're going to pin the recipe. Okay, so before, remember this was all checked. There's yes. Now they are X's so that we don't have them. So we are going to then grab something. So let's pick up some bread. We're going to drop it on the table. You see now we have an X. If I remove it, sorry, it'll check. Now if I move it, it's an X. If I add it, it's okay. And if we pick up jam, you don't have to add them in order. It will find them no matter which order you add them in. Okay. So now we have 3 checks. So we know that stage is complete. But you see at the moment our stages are wrong. It's now telling me to spread jam instead of spread. We need to do some changes in our recipe. But this part of the game is actually working. Let's go ahead and just change those now. I believe I did change the enum. Let me just check. Yes. So we're going to go to our drawer, our data folder, our enum, our prep stages. We've got up to completed. We're going to add one more. Again, I'm not going to make you watch my typing. I'm going to copy and paste from my reference. We're adding a new stage. Add all ingredients to prep table. Okay. We're going to save that. We're now going to also go to our data folder. To our recipes. And we're going to open up both of these. Let's go ahead and open up both of these. And okay, so at the moment we have okay, I'm looking at the wrong one. No, I was confusing myself. Okay, at the moment we have 3 and 3 in here. Okay, we need to change these. So the easiest way to do it is let's just work down the list. We're going to change it. So we're going to add a new one anyway. Okay. And this is going to be in our instructions of 4. Okay. We're going to move that one to completed. This one to spread jam. This one to spread butter. And this one to add all ingredients on the table. Today's commands, we have to be a little bit crafty with this one. We can't add it. So here, what we're going to do here is we're going to add ingredients to table. That these don't have to necessarily be in order, so it doesn't really matter. It's only looking for what message it displays. I'm going to copy and paste that. So instead of opening recipe and select a new one, I'm going to say paste here. Okay. And then we're going to add another new one, which is none, and we can copy and paste this message here. So just moving the sequence of the amount. And I've just place the ingredients on the correct table. That's that one done. And we'll do the same for the toast. So that we're going to add a new stage here. So this becomes 5. And again, we just double check what I did. Yeah, we change these as we go down this. So, and here we're going to say add all ingredients to prep table, toast bread in toaster, spread butter, spread jam, And number 5 is completed. Okay. Those commands again do pretty well much like we did before. Just going to add another one. Okay, we've got the other side, so we're going to change this one and this, then we're going to add another one. And this one's going to be completed. Let's make sure we've got them all. We've got spread button, we've got completed. Oh, I'm confusing myself here. We've got spread butter, spread jam, toast bread in toaster, add all ingredients to prep table and completed. Okay, I added one I didn't need to add. So if that's the case, I'll just go ahead and delete that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Okay, so we've got all of those. Now, oh, okay. Sorry, I've made a mistake. Why it was confusing me. Okay, so here, prep stages. We are going to need to move them all down like we did before. We're going to add a new one. This one's going to be add all ingredients to the table, and it's a none. And this one's going to be toast bread in toaster, spread butter. Now the spread bread and toaster is none, spread butter is obviously butter. And this one will be spread jam, so we're going to make sure we choose spread jam for this. And the last one is completed. And that's a none. So we should have 5 in each. 5, 5, 5. Yes. I'm going to go back and double check my work on here because I'm sure I missed stuff out, and I did here in the prep stages. So back in your normal bread and jam, again, I'm going to add one. This is going to be add all ingredients to prep table. This one's going to be now spread butter. We change this to butter. This one must be none. Spread jam. And this will be jam. And completed. And this will be none. So we should have 4. 1, 2, 5 in that one. 4. Yep, that's correct. And 4. That's correct. That's correct. Go back and make sure we've got our wording correct for here. So spread butter on bread, spread jam on your bread. Okay, completed, open your recipe to select a new recipe, toast bread in toaster. And this one here, add all ingredients on prep table. We're now going to change that to make sure that says the correct message. And paste that to place the ingredients on the prep table. Okay, that looks good to me now. Make sure you save and compile all of those. Make sure that's saved and compiled. We've got 10 unsaved because we changed that. So we'll go ahead and make sure you save all because we've changed that enum. Okay, I've got an error on that material, but that's probably an engine error. Let's just see if I can save it here. No, okay, I'm not worrying about that. If it doesn't want to save, I can deal with it at a later date. That's a material thing. That's nothing to do with what we've done today. So we can go ahead and close these. Now we should have the correct messages and the correct stages. So let's go ahead and test that. And if that works, then we should be done. Press tab to open the recipe book. Okay. In a recipe. Okay, so we have a recipe, nothing on it. Now it says place ingredients on prep table. So, okay. Put some butter on there. Let's put some jam on there. And let's put, I think I'll reach from here, some bread on here. Now it says spread butter, so we now continue on exactly as we had before. I'm going to open my jam. I'm going to pick the bread up because we are going to say that we have to add this to the chopping board later on, but for now, this is fine because that's a different thing. Go to my butter, left click, got my butter, left click, left click. Now it tells me spread jam, which is correct. Got my jam, left click, left click. Now it says open the recipe from the recipe. So we're back to start. Now, if you notice, we've got jam and butter still on here. So let's just test that part, see if that's working. We're going to select our recipe. And we're going to have out. And you can see now already it says butter and jam are already on the table. So to continue, you just need to add bread. So let's add the bread, see what happens. Now it's telling us to go ahead and spread the butter. So everything's working as it should be. And I'm going to call it there for this one today. Thank you very much for watching, as always. If you like what I do, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. If you really appreciate my work, you can come and join me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. Have any problems, you can check out the Discord. I'm willing to help, or put a comment below. If you dislike my content, tell me why, but as always, please keep it civil. I do try to keep these family friendly. And if you have any derogatory comments that are not constructive in any way, they will get deleted. So thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.